The voice of sharing during ASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome to Duran ASEAN. You're with Gowri here today on a Tuesday morning, and I'm here on ASEAN Daily to bring you news from all over Southeast Asia. And to kick off with some breaking news for today, of course, we have our daily 1MDB update, and the most recent one is that the 2.6 billion ringgit that was found in our Prime Minister's account was actually donation. This was the alleged claim by MACC, and of course it drew a huge outcry on Facebook and Twitter. A lot of people are questioning where did this donation come from, who was so generous to donate up to 2.6 billion for the Prime Minister. And one of the person who has reacted very strongly is, of course, Parliamentary Leader Lim Kit Siang, who in a statement today also questioned why Datuk Seri Najib did not explain that from the beginning when the Wall Street Journal first reported about it on the 2nd of July. Why did he have to wait so long until so many documents surfaced, so many other investigation took place, and then now he comes and says that this was all just donation, and this 2.6 billion was from donors and not from the troubled state investment vehicle, which is 1MDB. But they have not revealed who the donors are, and I think people are eagerly waiting to find out who these generous people are who donated 2.6 billion to the Prime Minister. And whether they were all used for UMNO or Barisan Nasional's campaign, we don't know for sure. But the fact that they received that much funding also raises the question on were they actually conducting the campaign honestly and honorably. And he also questioned the amount of the remaining sum after expenditure of the May 5 polls and asked, where have all the money gone since the accounts have been closed? And according to Mr. Bahri, Datuk Bahri actually, who has been with MACC for 28 years, reportedly said that the police will not do this mad thing if they were not forced to do. He's speaking about the police crackdown on MACC officers when he was questioned yesterday by Bukit Aman under Section 124. So a lot of things going on with 1MDB at the moment. What started out as an investment fund got blown out of proportion so much when the issue surfaced, and now so many different versions of the stories is coming out, and I think the people still don't know the truth, still don't know what happened, and everything that we've been hearing so far are only alleged claims, or that there's some investigation going on, that there's this document here and this evidence here, but our Prime Minister has so far denied all of that. And the most recent news is, of course, the 2.6 billion was donation, and I think the people are definitely not happy about that. And Lim Kit Siang also said that such madness must stop, and Malaysians must face up to the one and only issue, which is for the Prime Minister to convince Malaysians and also the world of his innocence and moral authority to continue to lead Malaysia. Of course, there was also a rally that took place in front of Sogo last Saturday, and calling for the resignation of our Prime Minister and also his arrest, but instead a lot of the activists who were the ones who got arrested. We don't know how long exactly this issue will drag on, and how long exactly will we have to wait before we hear something substantial, something that we can truly believe from our Prime Minister. Let's wait for a hopeful update on this one. Moving on to Vietnam, they have been hit with some heavy rainfall that killed 17 people and also inundated major coal mines, causing concern among environmentalists about the contamination of local communities and the waters of a top tourist attraction, Halong Bay. And 6 days of rain in the province have displaced thousands of people, with houses and roads deluged by flood water that environmental groups are starting to get very, very worried, especially with the potentially hazardous coal dust that could be spreading to the people. And of course, this region, Halong Bay actually is a UNESCO World Heritage Site that's visited by millions of tourists each year. So Halong Bay to be hit by heavy rainfall, it's definitely not good for Vietnam and its tourism industry. And of course, the damage so far is estimated at 59 million euros or 2 trillion dong, half of which affects the Vinacomin, according to the government's new website. And heavy rain is actually likely to continue until Monday and spread to other northern provinces of Vietnam, and there have not been sufficient efforts to protect the surrounding communities, and hopefully they can resolve this issue soon enough, because they will start losing tourists if they don't try to come up with some immediate crisis management plan to handle the flood waters. And moving on, we have human rights on the agenda of the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting, and these 10 ministers will have a meeting with the ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights AICHR representatives to discuss the Commission's next 5-year work plan on promoting human rights in the region. And the AICHR chair, Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdullah, had said that he hoped the session today would address priority issues, especially those concerning human trafficking. And AICHR has also completed a thematic study on corporate social responsibility, and would suggest to the foreign ministers to look seriously at the CSR mechanism as a holistic approach to promote a more people-centered ASEAN and socially responsible ASEAN member states. And of course, set up by ASEAN in 2009, the AICHR is responsible to promote and protect human rights in the region, which is a very, very grave issue when we talk about human rights in Southeast Asia, be it in Malaysia, in Thailand, in Myanmar, most of the countries, we still do not have proper laws to protect basic human rights. They are very fundamental rights that should not be a problem at all. And it's a very good news that the ministers are discussing this. Hopefully they come up with an action plan as well to follow up and carry through with the plan and come up with some proper laws and policies to protect the migrant workers who are working here or working in other countries, so we will not be violating their human rights. And moving on, the ASEAN officials conclude 48th AMM Preparatory Meetings. Of course, like I mentioned, the ASEAN ministers will be meeting, and they concluded a series of meetings presided over by Malaysian Foreign Ministry Secretary Dato Othman Hashim, laying the groundwork for the 48th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and other related meetings. And one of the things that they're discussing is Timor-Leste's bid to join ASEAN while still being evaluated, said Othman. One more issue that will be discussed as well is the efforts to establish ASEAN community by year end. This is probably one of the most important element to discuss about when we talk about the AEC. By end of this year, we're looking to achieve this free flow of goods, labor, services across the borders without with very, very little problem or issue. And one more thing that they will be discussing is about the Asia Nuclear Weapons Free Zone Commission, and to see what are the reservations or what are the protocols that they will need to carry through with that. And before we end our political segment, we are looking at better Thailand-Myanmar relations to tighten the ASEAN integration. And the expanding relationship between Thailand and Myanmar has actually helped to tighten the connection and integration between ASEAN countries. And this is according to the Deputy Permanent Secretary of Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vitavas Srivikhok, has said that this visa-free agreement for citizens of both nations will be beneficial to both sides, of course, both their tourism and economy, while the relations of ASEAN as a whole will also be improved from this cooperation. And the MFA Ministry of Foreign Affairs Secretary also said that Thai-Myanmar relations are now very good, evident from the opening of the Consulate General of Myanmar in Chiang Mai Province in Thailand on the 29th of May. And it's definitely good to see countries working together in the ASEAN region. At the end of the day, we are going for an ASEAN integration. We're trying to identify ourselves as one community, and we definitely want to see more countries working together, tightening their relationship, and this can only be beneficial to ASEAN. And we are going to take a short break. When I come back, I'll bring you news from the economy side of Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to Duran ASEAN. You're still with Gowri here, and I'm here to bring you more news from Southeast Asia. And this time we will be focusing on the economic side, focusing on Vietnam particularly. It seems that Vietnam's fast rising property market leaves hard time behind. So it looks like things are actually looking up for Vietnam, which is pretty good news. And Vietnam is riding into another boom with construction starting in Ho Chi Minh on the two of the world's tallest skyscrapers, and buyers snapping up the new projects fast. And the speed of the market's turnaround has been starting. Successful property transactions have doubled from a year ago, and developers have halved their unsold inventory from $6 billion at the peak of the crisis at the start of 2013. And this Southeast Asian country's communist government is hoping that they will learn lessons from the last burst bubble, and hopefully this will prevent the latest property cycle crashing like the last one. And all these buyers and developers defaulted on loans are also leaving the banks crippled by a lot of debt and unable to provide credit to tens of thousands of failing businesses. And the empty shells, abandoned, half-built condominiums, office blocks, littered cities, showing how Vietnam had hit the wall. And this is something that every country probably has to look out for. It's so easy to get on the bandwagon where everyone's investing, and you just jump on and also invest all your money. And at the end of it, when the bubble burst and everything is just left halfway, and buildings are half built, like what's mentioned here in this article, condominiums are built halfway and no one's staying in them. And according to The Eastern, a condominium developed by a Vietnamese and a South Korean company, about 70% of the units sold from May to July were to foreigners. And the firms buying accommodation for foreign employees working at Saigon High-Tech Park, home to firms like Intel and Samsung. This sounds very much like what's happening in Penang or even Kuala Lumpur, where a lot of luxury homes are being built, but instead of it catering to the people, the Malaysians themselves or the local in KL or Penang, it's actually being bought mostly by foreigners or by the expatriates who are actually living here, because the prices are so ridiculously high that the only ones who can afford it are the expats who are making a lot of money. And for it with ambition, it seems that the Ho Chi Minh City will aim to give Vietnam 2 potential entries into the top 10 list of world's tallest building. So Vietnam is on its way to have 2 magnificent skyscrapers, and all the best with that. Hopefully the government will look into this housing issue and make sure that the Vietnamese people can also afford the housing and not just the foreigners. And another news is from China. Well, it's more about ASEAN-China relationship, where the impact of China's trade slowdown on ASEAN is actually manageable. And a couple of analysts in RHB Research believes that the impact will likely be manageable, as exports to China only accounted for 10 to 13% of this country's total exports. And this RHB research came up with a recent report saying that slowdown in China's economic growth has been reflected in the slowing imports of primary industrial goods such as mineral fuels, lubricants and related minerals, rubber, iron, steel products and more. And all this glut is likely to pressure the commodity prices and restrain demand for ASEAN 5, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand, their exports for the months to come. And this has a negative implication on ASEAN because these products actually make up 1/3 of China's import from the region. And although Indonesia's exports are actually more vulnerable to the slowdown in China's economic growth, the good thing about Indonesia is it actually has a very large domestic market to cushion the effect, so it won't be felt as much. But for other countries, the other ASEAN 5, like Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, we might feel the pinch a bit more. And Malaysia's export to China has also declined from 13% to 11% in the first 4 months of 2015. But it seems that Malaysia will also fare better than the other countries because our industrial primary products are actually in oversupply in China, accounting for smaller share in China's imports. And of course, the relationship between China and the ASEAN countries are very important, and it's something that both countries, both entities depend on. And as a change in China's economic structure could also impact how ASEAN is doing. And in this case, it seems that Indonesia will not be affected that much because of the number of people that they have there, and even in Malaysia because of our primary industrial products, which are actually in oversupply. But the other countries might be affected even more, and we'll see how this one turns out. And I'll take another short break. When we come back, we'll move over to the this socio-cultural part of Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to Duran ASEAN. You're still with Gowri here, and it's a Tuesday morning. I'm here to bring you more news on Southeast Asia on our ASEAN Daily. And moving on to our socio-cultural part for this morning, let's go to Hong Kong for a bit, where they are protesting over breast as a weapon conviction. Dozens of bra-wearing men and women have been protesting in Hong Kong after a woman was jailed for assaulting a senior policeman with her breast. And about 200 people who joined the breast walk protest outside the police headquarters on Sunday, either wearing exposed bras or waving them, said that a breast was not a weapon. They have a point right there, and Eung has been taking part in a protest against Chinese mainliners visiting Hong Kong to buy cheaper and better quality produce, a long-running controversial subject in the territory. And although this whole protest seems somewhat controversial and whatnot, of course, using a woman's breast to assault a policeman doesn't quite make sense. And she was sentenced to 3 months and 15 days in prison, which is why a lot of people were quite angry. It seems that during the scuffle, the chief police inspector also tried to grab her bag, but his hand accidentally landed on her breast when she then accused him of sexual assault. And then that's when she used her breast to actually attack him instead. And she said that she had used her female identity to trump up the allegation that the officer had molested her. The South China Morning Post quoted him as saying. And at her sentencing on Thursday as well, Mr. Chan said that if he did not hand down a deterring sentence, the public might mistakenly think that it's a trivial matter to assault police officers during a protest. So there are two different issues going on here. One is the fact that a policeman got assaulted, and they're obviously not happy about that. The government would expect the public to respect the police officers, and no matter what you use to assault him, even if it's your breast, it's still considered wrong, and you will be sentenced to jail. And from the people's perspective, they are like, how can breast be a weapon? This is ridiculous. And the police must review their guidelines to handle the female protesters. And one of the men at the demonstration told the Post that the way I dress today looks quite ugly as a male, but it's not ugly as the judgment that was given to that woman, which is like pointing at a deer and calling it a horse. And the post also said that the protest was illegal, but those taking part left peacefully before handing over the petition. So good luck there, Hong Kong. We'll see how this one turns out as well. And moving on to Vietnam again, we have Vietnam's gay power couple who is the U.S. ambassador and his husband. And since their December arrival in Vietnam, U.S. Ambassador Ted Osias and his husband have become quite the prominent gay couple in Southeast Asian countries, especially in Vietnam, of course. And Mr. Osias and Clayton landed with their toddler son shortly before the government abolished its ban on same-sex marriage. And now the couple, who also adopted an infant girl, find themselves ambassadors of LGBT rights movements spreading across the country. And according to them, a lot of young people have been reaching out to them, saying that they're happy to see somebody who is gay, and they are absolutely happy with their personal life and also has professional success. And Mr. Osias also said in an interview that he don't think of it so much as advocating Vietnamese civil society in doing what it is already doing. And the communist government also, of course, revised its marriage laws. Although it doesn't officially recognize same-sex marriage, but their tolerance for it has definitely increased, especially with the rise of pride events that has made Vietnam a leader of gay rights advocate in Southeast Asia. Good job there, Vietnam, leading the fight to advocate LGBT rights in this whole region. And they can also potentially open up opportunities to attract tourists, pink dollar, and business executives seeking a more tolerant environment. So this is the way that Vietnam is going about right now. And a lot of young Vietnamese gay couples said that they can actually be ostracized in a patriarchal society in which heterosexual marriage and parenthood are seen as the path to happiness. Of course, we don't deny that. It's still the conventional way that most people are comfortable with, and they would go about doing it the conventional way and object to anything that they deem to be unnatural. According to Mr. Phil Robertson, who is Deputy Asia Director at Human Rights Watch, the legal changes also sit oddly in a country that more broadly curbs political dissent, which is quite a surprise. Vietnam being a country that is quite big on dissent, silencing dissenters, but they seem to be quite forward and open-minded when it comes to gay rights. And this is also the core interest of ours, said Mr. Bond, who is one of the gay couple. People see us as an openly gay couple with kids serving our country, and I hope people find that inspiring. And I think that is a great example, because most of the time when people are against something, it's because they have this perception that it's wrong or it cannot work or you are going to fail. But if they can see that you can be gay and you can still have a successful family and a healthy life, and also have a successful career contributing and giving back to your country's economy, and there is no reason why that should be a trouble after all. And apart from that, in Singapore, sex between men is still illegal, although they are not prosecuted. And they also banned a song and a video by Taiwanese singer Jolene Tsai about same-sex relationship, which happened back in May. And speaking of Thailand, their push for gay rights has stalled, whereas in Brunei and Malaysia, being Islamic countries, they can actually punish those who engage in homosexual behavior. And it's great to see Vietnam leading the fight. Other countries, especially Malaysia and Brunei, have a long way to go, and hopefully we will respect everyone as humans and grant them their fundamental rights to be able to choose their partner. And just before we wrap things up for this morning, a bit of tourism news in terms of ASEAN. Well, we have a lot of campaigns going on in Southeast Asia with all the countries. We have Thailand coming up with its Magical Thailand campaign, Malaysia coming up with its Visit Malaysia, and all the other countries coming up with their own campaigns to attract tourists. But it has been calls to promote and market ASEAN as a single tourist destination, and that it could shift to a higher gear to further drive the economic growth. I think that this could be trickier than it looks, because even if we talk about one country itself, let's just say Indonesia, for example, they have hundreds of different islands, different places to visit, and it's unique in its own sense. Even speaking of Malaysia, we have our own spots to offer. We have our own islands, we have our own rainforests, and speaking of Thailand, they have their own industry there, and we think of Krabi, think of Phuket. Singapore has the Universal Studios, and it's hard to, I think, make all the countries come together and promote it as a single tourism destination, because we're talking about 10 countries here, and to visit all 10 countries might even take about up to 1 month because of how big they are. And of course, we already have the Go ASEAN travel channel, which is highlighting the different parts or the different tourist destinations in different countries, but we don't know how feasible it's going to be to combine all of it together. And intra-ASEAN travel could also further be boosted by introducing measures like cross-border travel packages, according to Taylor's University Deputy Vice Chancellor Dr. Pradeep Nair, who said it in the region's tourism stakeholders. And he also said that we could emulate what's being done in the European tourism sector, where a lot of European countries regularly top the global list in terms of number of tourist arrival. So I guess he's looking at it as more like an Asian ASEAN tour. When we talk about a Euro tour, go backpacking in Europe, he wants people to think the same of ASEAN as well. Of course, people do like coming to Southeast Asia because of our climate, because we are rich in rainforests and beautiful beaches, and it would be interesting to see how we can push the ASEAN tourism as well, and see whether or not that could actually have a different kind of impact on the tourism sector here. And that will be all from me today. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment on our Facebook page. You can also follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the latest podcasts. And speaking of that, also, well, we have our own app right now, the Durian ASEAN app, and you can download that and tune into us from anywhere at all. So this is Gowri signing off. We have another interview coming up later at 9 o'clock, so stay tuned for that one.